Part I of Prometheus Bound, translated by Henry David Thoreau, 1817–1862. Part I. Persons of the Drama. Kratos and Bia, or Strength and Force. Hephaestus, or Vulcan. Prometheus, Chorus of Ocean Nymphs, Oceanus, Io, daughter of Inachus, and Hermes. Kratos and Bia, Hephaestus and Prometheus. Kratos. We are come to the far-bounding plain of earth, to the Scythian way, to the unapproached solitude. Hephaestus, orders must have thy attention, which the Father has enjoined on thee, this bold one to the high-hanging rocks to bind in indissoluble fetters of adamantine bonds. For thy flower, the splendour of fire useful in all arts, stealing, he bestowed on mortals, and for such a crime 'tis fit he should give satisfaction to the gods, that he may learn the tyranny of Zeus to love, and cease from his man-loving ways. Hephaestus. Kratos and Bia, your charge from Zeus already has its end, and nothing further in the way. But I cannot endure to bind a kindred god by force to a bleak precipice. Yet absolutely there's necessity that I have courage for these things. For it is hard the Father's words to banish. High-plotting son of the right-counselling Themis, unwilling thee, unwilling in brazen fetters hard to be loosed, I am about to nail to this inhuman hill, where neither voice you'll hear, nor form of any mortal see, but scorched by the sun's clear flame, will change your colours bloom, and to you, glad, the various-robed night will conceal the light, and sun disperse the morning frost again. And always the burden of the present ill will wear you, for he that will relieve you has not yet been born. Such fruits you've reaped from your man-loving ways. For a god, not shrinking from the wrath of gods, you have bestowed honours on mortals more than just, for which this pleasureless rock you'll sentinel, standing erect, sleepless, not bending a knee, and many sighs and lamentations to no purpose will you utter, for the mind of Zeus is hard to be changed, and he is wholly rugged who may newly rule. Kratos. Well, why dost thou delay and pity in vain? Why not hate the god most hostile to gods, who has betrayed thy prize to mortals? Hephaestus. The affinity indeed is appalling, and the familiarity. Kratos. I agree, but to disobey the Father's words, how is it possible? Fear you not this more? Hephaestus. Ay, you are always without pity and full of confidence. Kratos. For 'tis no remedy to bewail this one. Cherish not vainly troubles which avail naught. Hephaestus. O much hated handicraft! Kratos. Why hatest it? For in simple truth, for these misfortunes which are present now, art's not to blame. Hephaestus. Yet I would it had fallen to another's lot. Kratos. All things were done but to rule the gods, for none is free but Zeus. Hephaestus. I knew it, and have naught to say against these things. Kratos. Will you not haste then to put the bonds about him, that the Father may not observe you loitering? Hephaestus. Already at hand the shackles you may see. Kratos. Taking them, about his hands with firm strength strike with a hammer, and nail him to the rocks. Hephaestus. 'Tis done, and not in vain this work. Kratos. Strike harder, tighten, nowhere relax, for he is skilful to find out ways e'en from the impracticable. Hephaestus. Ay, but this arm is fixed inextricably. Kratos. And this now clasp securely, that he may learn he is a duller schemer than is Zeus. Hephaestus. Except him would none justly blame me. Kratos. Now with an adamantine wedge's stubborn fang through the breasts nail strongly. Hephaestus. Alas, alas, Prometheus, I groan for thy afflictions. Kratos. And do you hesitate? For Zeus's enemies do you groan? Beware lest one day you yourself will pity. Hephaestus. You see a spectacle hard for eyes to behold. Kratos. I see him meeting his deserts, but round his sides put straps. Hephæstus. To do this is necessity. Insist not much. Kr. Surely I will insist, and urge beside. Go downward, and the thighs surround with force. Hephæstus. Already it is done, the work with no long labour. Kr. Strongly now drive the fetters through and through, for the critic of the works is difficult. Hephæstus. Like your form, your tongue speaks. Kr. Be thou softened, but for my stubbornness of temper and harshness reproach me not. Hephæstus. Let us withdraw, for he has a net about his limbs. Kr. There now insult, and the shares of gods plundering on ephemerals bestow. What thee can mortals in these ills relieve? Falsely thee the divinities Prometheus call, for you yourself need one foreseeing in what manner you will escape this fortune. Prometheus, alone. O divine ether, and ye swift-winged winds, fountains of rivers and countless smilings of the ocean waves, and earth, mother of all, and thou all-seeing orb of the sun, I call. Behold me, what a god I suffer at the hands of gods. See by what outrages tormented the myriad-yeared time I shall endure. Such a new ruler of the blessed has contrived for me unseemly bonds. Alas, alas, the present and the coming woe, I groan. Wherever of these sufferings must an end appear. But what say I? I know beforehand all, exactly what will be, nor to me strange will any evil come. The destined fate as easily as possible it behooves to bear, knowing necessities is of resistless strength. But neither to be silent nor unsilent about this lot is possible for me. For a gift to mortals giving, I wretched have been yoked to these necessities. Within a hollow reed by stealth I carry off fire's stolen source, which seemed the teacher of all art to mortals, and a great resource. For such crimes penalty I pay, under the sky, riveted in chains. Ah, ah, alas, alas! What echo, what odour has flown to me obscure, of god or mortal or else mingled? Came it to this terminal hill, a witness of my sufferings, or wishing what? Behold, bound me an unhappy god, the enemy of Zeus, fallen under the ill will of all the gods, as many as enter into the hall of Zeus, through too great love of mortals. Alas, alas, what fluttering do I hear of birds near? For the air rustles with the soft rippling of wings. Everything to me is fearful which creeps this way. Prometheus and Chorus. Chorus. Fear nothing, for friendly this band of wings with swift contention drew to this hill, hardly persuading the paternal mind. The swift carrying breezes sent me, for the echo of beaten steel pierced the recesses of the caves, and struck out from me reserved modesty. And I rushed unsandaled in a winged chariot. Prometheus. Alas, 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 alas! Offspring of the fruitful Tethys, and of him rolling around all the earth with sleepless stream children of Father Ocean, behold, look on me. By what bonds embraced on this cliff's topmost rocks I shall maintain unenvied watch. Chorus. I see Prometheus, but to my eyes a fearful mist has come, surcharged with tears, looking upon thy body shrunk to the rocks by these mischiefs of adamantine bonds. Indeed, new helmsmen rule Olympus, and with new laws Zeus strengthens himself, annulling the old, and the before great now makes unknown. Prometheus. Would that under earth and below Hades, receptacle of dead, to impassable Tartarus he had sent me, to bonds indissoluble, cruelly conducting, that neither god nor any other had rejoiced at this. But now the sport of winds, unhappy one, a source of pleasure to my foes, I suffer. Chorus. Who so hard-hearted of the gods, to whom these things are pleasant? Who does not sympathize with thy misfortunes excepting Zeus? For he in wrath always fixing his stubborn mind. afflicts the heavenly race, nor will he cease until his heart is sated, or with some palm some one may take the power hard to be taken. Prometheus. Surely yet, though in strong fetters I am now maltreated, the ruler of the blessed will have need of me, to show the new conspiracy by which he's robbed of sceptre and of honours, and not at all me with persuasion's honey-tongued charms will he appease, nor ever, shrinking from his firm threats, will I declare this, till from cruel bonds he may release, and to do justice for this outrage be willing. Chorus. You are bold, and to bitter woes do nothing yield, but too freely speak. But my mind-piercing fear disturbs, for I'm concerned about thy fortunes, where at length arriving you may see an end to these afflictions. For manners inaccessible, and a heart hard to be dissuaded has the son of Kronos. Prometheus. I know that. Zeus is stern in having justice to himself. But after all gentle-minded he will one day be, when thus he's crushed, and his stubborn wrath allaying into agreement with me and friendliness, earnest to me, earnest he at length will come. Chorus. The whole account disclose and tell us plainly. In what crime, taking you, Zeus, thus disgracefully and bitterly insults? Inform us, if you are nowise hurt by the recital. Prometheus. Painful indeed it is to me to tell these things, and a pain to be silent, and every way unfortunate. When first the divinities began their strife, and discord 'mong themselves arose, some wishing to cast Kronos from his seat, that Zeus might reign, forsooth, others the contrary striving, that Zeus might never rule the gods. Then I, the best advising to persuade the Titans, son of Uranus and Chthon, unable was. But crafty stratagems despising with rude minds, they thought without trouble to rule by force. But to me my mother not once only, Themis, and Gaia, of many names one form, how the future should be accomplished had foretold, that not by power nor by strength would it be necessary, but by craft the victor should prevail. Such I, in words expounding, they deign not to regard at all. The best course, therefore, of those occurring then appeared to be, taking my mother to me, of my own accord to side with Zeus, glad to receive me. And by my counsels Tartarus' black-pitted depths conceals the ancient Kronos, with his allies. In such things by me, the tyrant of the god having been helped, with base rewards like these repays me. For there is somehow in kingship this disease, not to trust its friends. What then you ask, for what cause he afflicts me, this will I now explain. As soon as on his father's throne he sat, he straightway to the gods distributes honours, some to one and to another some, and arranged the government, but of unhappy mortals account had none, but blotting out the race entire, wished to create another new. And these things none opposed but I adventured. I rescued mortals from going destroyed to Hades. Therefore indeed with such afflictions am I bent, to suffer grievous and piteous to behold. And holding mortals up to pity, myself am not thought worthy to obtain it, but without pity am I thus corrected, a spectacle inglorious to Zeus. Chorus. Of iron heart and made of stone, who e'er, Prometheus, with thy sufferings dost not grieve, for I should not have wished to see these things, and having seen them I am grieved at heart. Prometheus. Indeed to friends I'm piteous to behold. Chorus. Did you in no respect go beyond this? Prometheus. True, mortals I made cease foreseeing fate. Chorus. Having found what remedy for this all? Prometheus. Blind hopes in them I made to dwell. Chorus. A great advantage this you gave to men. Prometheus. Beside these two I bestowed on them fire. Chorus. And have mortals flamy fire? Prometheus. From which indeed they will learn many arts. Chorus. Upon such charges then does Zeus maltreat you, and nowhere relax from ills? Is there no term of suffering lying before thee? Prometheus. Nay, none at all, but when to him it may seem good. Chorus. And how will it seem good? What hope? See you not that you have erred? But how you've erred, for me to tell not pleasant, and to you a pain. But these things let us omit, and seek you some release from sufferings. Prometheus. Easy, whoever out of trouble holds his foot, to admonish and remind those faring ill. But all these things I knew. Willing I erred, I'll not deny. Mortals assisting, I myself found trouble. Not indeed with penalties like these thought I that I should pine on lofty rocks, gaining this drear unneighboured hill. But bewail not my present woes, but alighting, the fortunes creeping on, hear ye, that ye may learn all to the end. Obey me, obey, sympathize with him now suffering. Thus indeed affliction, wandering round, sits now by one, then by another. Chorus. Not to unwilling ears do you urge this, Prometheus. And now with light foot, the swift rushing seat leaving, and the pure ether, path of birds to this peaked ground I come, for thy misfortunes I wish fully to hear. Prometheus, Chorus, and Oceanus. Oceanus. I come to the end of a long way, travelling to thee, Prometheus. By my will, without bit's directing, this wing-swift bird. For at thy fortunes know I grieve. And, I think, affinity thus impels me, but apart from birth, there's not to whom a higher rank I would assign than thee. And you will know these things as true, and not in vain to flatter with the tongue is in me. Come, therefore, show how it is necessary to assist you. For never will you say, then, Ocean, there's a firmer friend to thee. Prometheus. Alas, what now? And you then of my sufferings come spectator? How didst thou dare, leaving the stream which bears thy name, and rock-roofed caves self-built, to the iron mother earth to go? To behold my fate hast come, and to compassionate my ills? Behold a spectacle this, the friend of Zeus, having with him stablished his tyranny, with what afflictions by himself I'm bent. Oceanus. I see, Prometheus, and would admonish thee the best, although of varied craft. Know thyself, and fit thy manners new, for new also the king among the gods. For if thus rude and wedded words thou wilt hurl out, quickly may Zeus, though sitting far above, hear thee, so that thy present wrath of troubles child's play will seem to be. But, O wretched one, dismiss the indignation which thou hast, and seek deliverance from these woes. Like an old man, perhaps, I seem to thee to say these things. Such, however, are the wages of the too lofty speaking tongue, Prometheus. But thou art not yet humble, nor dost yield to ills, and beside the present wish to receive others still. But thou wouldst not, with my counsel, against the pricks extend your limbs, seeing that a stern monarch irresponsible reigns. And now I go, and will endeavour, if I can, to release thee from these sufferings. But be thou quiet, nor too rudely speak. Know'st thou not well, with thy superior wisdom, that on a vain tongue punishment is inflicted? Prometheus. I congratulate thee that thou art without blame, having shared and dared all with me. And now leave off, and let it not concern thee. For altogether thou wilt not persuade him, for he's not easily persuaded. But take heed yourself, lest you be injured by the way. Oceanus. Far better thou art to advise those near than thyself. By deed and not by word I judge. But me hastening by no means mayest thou detain, for I boast, this favour will Zeus grant me, from these sufferings to release thee. End of Part 1. Part 2 of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus. Translated by Henry David Thoreau, 1817 to 1862. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. Part 2. Prometheus. So far I praise thee, and will never cease. For zeal you nothing lack. But strive not, for in vain, naught helping me, thou'lt strive, if aught to strive you wish. But be thou quiet, holding thyself aloof, for I would not, though I'm unfortunate, that on this account evils should come to many. Oceanus. Surely not, for me too the fortunes of thy brother Atlas grieve, who towards the evening places stands, the pillar of heaven and earth upon his shoulders bearing, a load not easy to be borne. And the earth‐born inhabitant of the Cilician caves seeing, I pitied, the savage monster with 100 heads by force o'ercome, Typhon impetuous, who stood 'gainst all the gods, with frightful jaws hissing out slaughter. And from his eyes flashed a Gorgonian light, utterly to destroy by force the sovereignty of Zeus. But there came to him Zeus's sleepless bolt, descending thunder, breathing flame, which struck him out from lofty boastings. For, struck to his very heart, his strength was scorched and thundered out. And now, a useless and extended carcass lies he near a narrow passage of the sea, pressed down under the roots of Aetna. And on the topmost summit seated, Hephaestus hammers the ignited mass, whence will burst out at length rivers of fire, devouring with wild jaws fair-fruited Sicily's smooth fields. Such rage will Typhon make boil over with hot discharges of insatiable, fire‐breathing tempest, though by the bolt of Zeus burnt to a coal. Prometheus. Thou art not inexperienced, nor dost want my counsel. Secure thyself as thou know'st how, and I against the present fortune will bear up until the thought of Zeus may cease from wrath. Oceanus. Know'st thou not this, Prometheus, that words are healers of distempered wrath? Prometheus. If any seasonably soothe the heart, and swelling passion check not rudely. Oceanus. In the consulting and the daring, what harm seest thou existing? Teach me. Prometheus. Trouble superfluous, and light‐minded folly. Oceanus. Be this my ail then, since it is most profitable, being wise, not to seem wise. Prometheus. This will seem to be my error. Oceanus. Plainly homeward thy words remand me. Prometheus. Aye, let not grief for me into hostility cast thee. Oceanus. To the new occupant of the all‐powerful seats? Prometheus. Beware lest ever his heart be angered. Oceanus. Thy fate, Prometheus, is my teacher. Prometheus. Go thou, depart, preserve the present mind. Oceanus. To me rushing this word you utter, for the smooth path of the air sweeps with his wings the four‐legged bird, and gladly would in the stalls at home bend a knee. Prometheus and Chorus. Chorus. I mourn for thee, thy ruinous fate, Prometheus, and tear distilling from my tender eyes a stream has wet my cheeks with flowing springs. For these unenvied Zeus by his own laws enforcing, haughty above the gods, that word displays his sceptre, and every region now with groans resounds, mourning the illustrious and ancient honour of thee and of thy kindred, as many mortals as a habitable seat of sacred Asia pasture, with thy lamentable woes have sympathy, and of the Colchian land, virgin inhabitants in fight undaunted, and Scythia's multitude, who the last place of earth about Meotis lake possess, and Arabia's martial flower, and who the high‐hung citadels of Caucasus inhabit near, a hostile army, raging with sharp‐prowed spears. Only one other god before, in suffering, subdued by injuries, of adamantine bonds I've seen, Titanian Atlas, who always with superior strength the huge and heavenly globe on his back bears, and with a roar the sea‐waves dashing, groans the deep, and the dark depth of Hades murmurs underneath the earth, and fountains of pure running rivers heave a pitying sigh. Prometheus. Think not, indeed, through weakness or through pride, that I am silent. For with the consciousness I gnaw my heart, seeing myself thus basely used. And yet to these new gods their shares who else than I wholly distributed? But of these things I am silent, for I should tell you what you know, the sufferings of mortals too you've heard, how I made intelligent and possessed of sense them ignorant before. But I will speak, not bearing any grudge to men, but showing in what I gave the good intention. At first, indeed, seeing they saw in vain, and hearing heard not, but like the forms of dreams for that long time rashly confounded all, nor brick‐woven dwellings knew they, placed in the sun, nor woodwork, but digging down they dwelt, like puny ants in sunless nooks of caves. and there was naught to them, neither of winter sign, nor of flower‐giving spring, nor fruitful summer that was sure. But without knowledge did they all, till I taught them the risings of the stars, and goings down, hard to determine. And numbers, chief of inventions, I found out for them, and the assemblages of letters, and memory, Muse mother, doer of all things. And first I joined in pairs wild animals obedient to the yoke, and that they might be alternate workers with the bodies of men in the severest toils, I harnessed the rain‐loving horses to the car, the ornament of over‐wealthy luxury. And none else than I invented the sea‐wandering flaxen‐winged vehicles of sailors. Such inventions I, wretched, having found out for men, myself have not the ingenuity by which from the now present ill I may escape. Chorus. You suffer unseemly ill. Deranged in mind you err, and as some bad physician, falling sick, you are dejected, and cannot find by what remedies you may be healed. Prometheus. Hearing the rest from me, more will you wonder what arts and what expedients I planned. That which was greatest, if any might fall sick, there was alleviation none, neither to eat, nor to anoint, nor drink, but for the want of medicines they were reduced to skeletons. Till to them I showed the mingling of mild remedies, by which all ails they drive away. And many modes of prophecy I settled, and distinguished first of dreams what a real vision is required to be, and omens, hard to be determined, I made known to them. And tokens by the way, and flight of crooked taloned birds I accurately defined, which lucky are, and unlucky, and what mode of life have each, and to one another what hostilities, attachments, and assemblings, the entrails' smoothness, and what colour having they would be to the divinities acceptable, of the gall and liver the various symmetry, and the limbs concealed in fat, and the long flank burning, to an art hard to be guessed, I showed the way to mortals, and flammeous signs explained, before obscure. Such indeed these, and underground concealed the helps to men, brass, iron, silver, gold, who would affirm that he discovered before me? None, I well know, not wishing in vain to boast, but learn all in one word, all arts to mortals from Prometheus. Chorus. Assist not mortals now unseasonably, and neglect yourself unfortunate, for I am of good hope that from these bonds released, you will yet have no less power than Zeus. Prometheus. Never thus has fate the accomplisher decreed to fulfill these things, but by a myriad ills and woes subdued, thus bonds I flee, for art's far weaker than necessity. Chorus. Who then is helmsman of necessity? Prometheus. The Fates three-formed, and the remembering Furies. Chorus. Than these, then, is Zeus weaker? Prometheus. Aye, he could not escape what has been fated. Chorus. But what to Zeus is fated, except always to rule? Prometheus. This thou wilt not learn, seek not to know. Chorus. Surely some awful thing it is which you withhold. Prometheus. Remember other words, for this by no means is it time to tell, but to be concealed as much as possible. For keeping this do I escape unseemly bonds and woes. Chorus. Never may the all‐ruling Zeus put into my mind force antagonist to him, nor let me cease drawing near the gods with holy sacrifices of slain oxen, by Father Ocean's ceaseless passage, nor offend with words, but in me this remain and ne'er be melted out. 'Tis something sweet with bold hopes the long life to extend, in bright cheerfulness the cherishing spirit. But I shudder, thee beholding by a myriad sufferings tormented, for not fearing Zeus in thy private mind, thou dost regard mortals too much, Prometheus. Come, though a thankless favour, friend, say where is any strength, from ephemerals any help? Saw you not the powerless inefficiency, dream-like, in which the blind race of mortals are entangled? Never counsels of mortals may transgress the harmony of Zeus. I learned these things looking on thy destructive fate, Prometheus. For different to me did this strain come, and that which round thy baths and couch I hymned, with the design of marriage, when my father's child with bridal gifts persuading, thou didst lead Hesione, the partner of thy bed. Prometheus, Chorus, and Io. Io. What earth, what race, What being shall I is this I see in bridles of rock exposed? By what crime's penalty dost thou perish? Show, to what part of earth I miserable have wandered. Ah! Ah! Alas! Alas! Again some fly doth sting me wretched, image of earth‐born Argus, cover it, earth! I fear the myriad‐eyed herdsman beholding, for he goes, having a treacherous eye, whom not e'en dead the earth conceals. But me, wretched from the infernals passing, he pursues, and drives fasting along the seaside sand, while low resounds a wax‐compacted reed, uttering sleep‐giving law. Alas! Alas, O gods! Where lead me far‐wandering courses? In what sin, O son of Cronos, in what sin, ever having taken, to these afflictions hast thou yoked me? Alas! Alas! With fly‐driven fear a wretched frenzied one dost thou afflict. With fire burn, or with earth cover, or to sea monsters give for food, nor envy me my prayers, king. Enough much wandered wanderings have exercised me, nor can I learn where I shall escape from sufferings. Chorus. Hear'st thou the address of the cow‐horned virgin? Prometheus. And how not hear the fly‐whirled virgin, daughter of Inachus, who Zeus' heart warmed with love, and now the courses overlong, by Here hated, forcedly performs? Io. Whence utterest thou my father's name? Tell me, miserable, who thou art, that to me, O suffering one, me born to suffer, thus true things dost address. The god‐sent ail thou namest, which wastes me stinging with maddening goads. Alas! Alas! With foodless and unseemly leaps rushing headlong I came, by wrathful plots subdued. Who of the wretched, who, alas! alas! suffers like me? But to me clearly show what me awaits to suffer. What not necessary? What remedy of ill? Teach, if indeed thou know'st. Speak out, tell the ill‐wandering virgin. Prometheus. I'll clearly tell thee all you wish to learn, not weaving in enigmas, but in simple speech, as it is just to open the mouth to friends. Thou seest the giver of fire to men, Prometheus. Io. O thou who didst appear a common help to mortals, wretched Prometheus, to atone for what do you endure this? Prometheus. I have scarce ceased my sufferings lamenting. Io. Would you not grant this favor to me? Prometheus. Say what you ask, for you'd learn all from me. Io. Say, who has bound thee to the cliff? Prometheus. The will indeed of Zeus, Hephaestus' hand. Io. And penalty for what crimes dost thou pay? Prometheus. Thus much only can I show thee. Io. But beside this, declare what time will be to me unfortunate the limit of my wandering. Prometheus. Not to learn is better for thee than to learn these things. Io. Conceal not from me what I am to suffer. Prometheus. Indeed, I grudge thee not this favor. Io. Why then dost thou delay to tell the whole? Prometheus. There's no unwillingness, but I hesitate to vex thy mind. Io. Care not for me more than is pleasant to me. Prometheus. Since you are earnest, it behooves to speak. Hear then. Chorus. Not yet, indeed, but a share of pleasure also give to me. First we'll learn the malady of this one, herself relating her destructive fortunes, and the remainder of her trials let her learn from thee. Prometheus. 'Tis thy part, Io, to do these a favor, as well for every other reason, and as they are sisters of thy father. Since to weep and to lament misfortunes, there where one will get a tear from those attending, is worthy the delay. Io. I know not that I need distrust you, but in plain speech you shall learn all that you ask for, and yet e'en telling I lament the god‐sent tempest, and dissolution of my form, whence to me miserable it came. For always visions in the night, moving about my virgin chambers, enticed me with smooth words. O greatly happy virgin, why be a virgin long? Is permitted to obtain the greatest marriage. For Zeus with love's dart has been warmed by thee, and wishes to unite in love. But do thou, O child, spurn not the couch of Zeus. but go out to Lerna's deep morass and stables of thy father's herds, that the divine eye may cease from desire. With such dreams every night was I unfortunate distressed, till I dared tell my father of the night‐wandering visions. And he to Pytho and Dodona frequent prophets sent, that he might learn what it was necessary he should say or do, to do agreeably to the gods. And they came, bringing ambiguous oracles, darkly and indistinctly uttered. But finally a plain report came to Inachus, clearly enjoining him and telling out of my home and country to expel me, discharged to wander to the earth's last bounds. And if he was not willing, from Zeus would come a fiery thunderbolt, which would annihilate all his race. Induced by such predictions of the Loxian, against his will he drove me out, and shut me from the houses. But Zeus's reign compelled him by force to do these things. Immediately my form and mind were changed, and horned as you behold, stung by a sharp-mouthed fly, with frantic leaping rushed I to Cancrea's palatable stream, and Lerna's source. But a herdsman born of earth of violent temper, Argus, accompanied, with numerous eyes my steps observing, but unexpectedly a sudden fate robbed him of life, and I, fly-stung, by lash divine am driven from land to land. You hear what has been done. And if you have to say aught, what's left of labour, speak, nor pitying me, comfort with false words. For an ill the worst of all, I say, are made-up words. Chorus. Enough, alas! Ne'er did I presume such cruel words would reach my ears, nor thus unsightly and intolerable hurts, sufferings, fears with a two-edged goad would chill my soul. Alas, alas! Fate, fate! I shudder seeing the state of Io. Prometheus. Beforehand sigh'st thou, and art full of fears. Hold till the rest also thou learn'st. Chorus. Tell, teach, for to the sick 'tis sweet to know the remaining pain beforehand clearly. Prometheus. Your former wish ye got from me with ease. For first ye asked to learn from her relating her own trials. The rest now hear, what sufferings 'tis necessary this young woman should endure from Here. But do thou, offspring of Inachus, my words cast in thy mind, that thou mayst learn the boundaries of the way. First, indeed, hence, towards the rising of the sun, turning thyself, travel uncultivated lands. And to the Scythian nomads thou wilt come, who woven roofs on high inhabit, on well-wheeled carts, with far-casting bows equipped. Whom go not near, but to the sea-resounding cliffs bending thy feet, pass from the region on the left hand the iron-working Chalybes inhabit, whom thou must needs beware, for they are rude and inaccessible to strangers. And thou wilt come to the Hybristes river, not ill-named, which pass not, for not easy is it to pass, before you get to Caucasus itself, highest of mountains, where the stream spurts out its tide from the very temples. In passing over the star-neighboured summits, 'tis necessary to go the southern way, where thou wilt come to the man-hating army of the Amazons, who Themyscira one day will inhabit by the Thermodon, where Salmydessia, rough jaw of the sea, inhospitable to sailors, stepmother of ships. They will conduct thee on thy way, and very cheerfully. And to the Cimmerian isthmus thou wilt come, just on the narrow portals of a lake, which leaving it behooves thee with stout heart to pass the Meotic straits. And there will be to mortals ever a great fame of thy passage, and Bosphorus from thy name 'twill be called. And leaving Europe's plain, the continent of Asia thou wilt reach. Seemeth to thee, forsooth, the tyrant of the gods in everything to be thus violent? For he, a god, with this mortal wishing to unite, drove her to these wanderings. A bitter wooer didst thou find, O virgin, for thy marriage. For the words you now have heard, think not yet to be the prelude. Io. Ah me, me! Alas, alas! Prometheus. Again dost shriek and heave a sigh? What wilt thou do when the remaining ills thou learn'st? Chorus. And hast thou any further suffering to tell her? Prometheus. Aye, a tempestuous sea of baleful woe. Io. What profit then for me to live, and not in haste to cast myself from this rough rock, that rushing down upon the plain I may be released from every trouble? For better once for all to die, than all my days to suffer evilly. End of Part 2. Part 3 of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Henry David Thoreau, 1817-1862. Part 3. Prometheus. Unhappily my trials wouldst thou hear, to whom to die has not been fated, for this would be release from sufferings, but now there is no end of ills lying before me, until Zeus falls from sovereignty. Io. And is Zeus ever to fall from power? Prometheus. Thou wouldst be pleased, I think, to see this accident. Io. How should I not, who suffer ill from Zeus? Prometheus. That these things then are so, be thou assured. Io. By what one will the tyrant's power be robbed? Prometheus. Himself, by his own senseless counsels. Io. In what way show, if there's no harm? Prometheus. He will make such a marriage as one day he'll repent. Io. Of God or mortal? If to be spoken, tell. Prometheus. What matters which? For these things are not to be told. Io. By a wife will he be driven from the throne? Prometheus. Aye, she will bring forth a son superior to his father. Io. Is there no refuge for him from this fate? Prometheus. None, surely, till I may be released from bonds. Io. Who then is to release thee, Zeus unwilling? Prometheus. He must be some one of thy descendants. Io. How sayest thou? That my child would deliver thee from ills? Prometheus. Third of thy race, after 10 other births. Io. This oracle is not yet easy to be guessed. Prometheus. But do not seek to understand thy sufferings. Io. First proffering gain to me, do not then withhold it. Prometheus. I'll grant thee one of 2 relations. Io. What 2 propose, and give to me my choice? Prometheus. I give. Choose whether thy remaining troubles I shall tell thee clearly, or him that will release me. Chorus. Consent to do her the one favour, me the other, nor deem us undeserving of thy words. To her indeed tell what remains of wandering, and to me who will release, for I desire this. Prometheus. Since you are earnest, I will not resist to tell the whole, as much as ye ask for. To thee first, Io, vexatious wandering I will tell, which engrave on the remembering tablets of the mind. When thou hast passed the flood boundary of continents, towards the flaming orient sun travelled, passing through the tumult of the sea, until you reach the Gorgonian plains of Cisthene, where the Phorcides dwell, old virgins, 3, swan-shaped, having a common eye, one-toothed, whom neither the sun looks on with his beams, nor nightly moon ever. And near, their winged sisters 3, dragon-scaled Gorgons, odious to men, whom no mortal beholding will have breath. Such danger do I tell thee. But hear another odious sight. Beware the Griffins, sharp-mouthed dogs of Zeus, which bark not, and the one-eyed Arimaspian host going on horseback, who dwell about the golden flowing flood of Pluto's channel. These go not near. But to a distant land thou'lt come, a dusky race, who near the fountains of the sun inhabit, where is the Ethiopian river. Creep down the banks of this, until thou comest to a descent, where from Biblinian mounts the Nile sends down its sacred palatable stream. This will conduct thee to the triangled land Nilean, where Io 'tis decreed thou and thy progeny shall form the distant colony. If aught of this is unintelligible to thee, and hard to be found out, repeat thy questions, and learn clearly, for more leisure than I want is granted me. Chorus. If to her aught remaining or omitted thou hast to tell of her pernicious wandering, speak. But if thou hast said all, give us the favour which we ask, for surely thou rememberest. Prometheus. The whole term of her travelling hath she heard. But that she may know that not in vain she hears me, I'll tell what before coming hither she endured. Giving this as proof of my relations, the great multitude of words I will omit, and proceed unto the very limit of thy wanderings. When, then, you came to the Molossian ground, and near the high ridge Dodona, where oracle and seat is of Thesprotian Zeus, and prodigy incredible the speaking oaks, by whom you clearly, and not enigmatically, were called the illustrious wife of Zeus, about to be, if aught of these things soothes thee. Thence, driven by the fly, you came the seaside way to the great gulf of Rhea, from which by courses retrograde you are now tempest-tossed. But for time to come this sea‐gulf, clearly know, will be called Ionian, memorial of thy passage to all mortals. Proofs to thee are these of my intelligence, that it sees somewhat more than the apparent. But the rest to you and her in common I will tell. Having come upon the very track of former words, there is a city Canopus, last of the land, by Nile's very mouth and bank. There at length Zeus makes thee sane, stroking with gentle hand, and touching only. And, named from Zeus's begetting, thou wilt bear dark Epaphus, who will reap as much land as broad‐flowing Nile doth water. And fifth from him, a band of 50 children again to Argos shall unwilling come, of female sex, avoiding kindred marriage of their cousins. But they, with minds inflamed, hawks by doves not far left behind, will come pursuing marriages not to be pursued, but heaven will take vengeance on their bodies. For them Pelasgia shall receive by Mars, subdued with woman's hand, with night‐watching boldness. For each wife shall take her husband's life, staining a two‐edged dagger in his throat. Such 'gainst my foes may Cypris come. But one of the daughters shall love soften not to slay her bedfellow, but she will waver in her mind, and one of two things will prefer, to hear herself called timid rather than stained with blood. She shall in Argos bear a royal race. Of a long speech is need this clearly to discuss. From this seed, however, shall be born a brave, famed for his bow, who will release me from these sufferings. Such oracle my ancient mother told me, Titanian Themis. But how and by what means, this needs long speech to tell, and nothing learning wilt thou gain. Io. Ah me! Ah wretched me! Spasms again and brain‐struck madness burn me within, and a fly's dart stings me. Not wrought by fire. My heart with fear knocks at my breast, and my eyes whirl round and round, and from my course I'm borne by madness' furious breath, unable to control my tongue, while confused words dash idly 'gainst the waves of horrid woe. Chorus. Wise, wise indeed was he, who first in mind this weighed, and with the tongue expressed to marry according to one's degree is best by far, nor being a labourer with the hands, to woo those who are by wealth corrupted, nor those by birth made great. Never, never me, Fates, may you behold the sharer of Zeus's couch, nor may I be brought near to any husband from those from heaven. For I fear, seeing the virginhood of Io, not content with man, through marriage vexed with these distressful wanderings by Here. But for myself, since an equal marriage is without fear, I am not concerned lest the love of the almighty gods cast its inevitable eye on me. Without war, indeed this war producing troubles, nor do I know what would become of me, for I see not how I should escape the subtlety of Zeus. Prometheus. Surely shall Zeus, though haughty now, yet be humble, such marriage he prepares to make, which from sovereignty and the throne will cast him down obscure. And Father Kronos' curse will then be all fulfilled, which falling from the ancient seats he imprecated. And refuge from such ills none of the gods but I can show him clearly. I know these things, and in what manner. Now, therefore, being bold, let him sit trusting to lofty sounds, and brandishing with both hands his fire‐breathing weapon, for naught will these avail him, not to fall disgracefully intolerable falls. Such wrestler does he now prepare, himself against himself, a prodigy most hard to be withstood. Who indeed will invent a better flame than lightning, and a loud sound surpassing thunder, and shiver the trident, Neptune's weapon, the marine earth‐shaking ale. Stumbling upon this ill, he'll learn how different to govern and to serve. Chorus. Aye, as you hope you vent this against Zeus. Prometheus. What will be done, and also what I hope I say. Chorus. And are we to expect that any will rule Zeus? Prometheus. Even than these more grievous ills he'll have. Chorus. How fear'st thou not, hurling such words? Prometheus. What should I fear, to whom to die has not been fated? Chorus. But suffering more grievous still than this he may inflict. Prometheus. Then let him do it. All is expected by me. Chorus. Those reverencing Adrastia are wise. Prometheus. Revere, pray, flatter each successive ruler. Me less than nothing Zeus concerns. Let him do, let him prevail this short time as he will, for long he will not rule the gods. But I see here indeed Zeus's runner, the new tyrant's drudge. Doubtless he brings some new message. Prometheus, Chorus, and Hermes. Hermes. To thee the sophist, the bitterly bitter, the sinner against gods, the giver of honours to ephemerals, the thief of fire, I speak. The Father commands thee to tell the marriage which thou boast, by which he falls from power, and that too not enigmatically, but each particular declare. Nor cause me double journeys, Prometheus, for thou seest that Zeus is not appeased by such. Prometheus. Solemn-mouthed and full of wisdom is thy speech, as of the servant of the gods. Ye newly rule, and think forsooth to dwell in griefless citadels. Have I not seen 2 tyrants fallen from these? And third I shall behold him ruling now, basest and speediest. Do I seem to thee to fear and shrink from the new gods? Nay, much and wholly I fall short of this. The way thou camest go through the dust again, for thou wilt learn naught which thou ask'st of me. Hermes. Aye, by such insolence before you brought yourself into these woes. Prometheus. Plainly know, I would not change my ill fortune for thy servitude. For better, I think, to serve this rock than be the faithful messenger of Father Zeus. Thus to insult the insulting it is fit. Hermes. Thou seemst to enjoy thy present state. Prometheus. I enjoy? Enjoying thus my enemies would I see, and thee 'mong them I count. Hermes. Dost thou blame me for aught of thy misfortunes? Prometheus. In plain words, all gods I hate, as many as well treated wrong me unjustly. Hermes. I hear thee raving, no slight ail. Prometheus. Aye, I should ail, if ail one's foes to hate. Hermes. If prosperous, thou couldst not be born. Prometheus. Ah me! Hermes. This word Zeus does not know. Prometheus. But time growing old teaches all things. Hermes. And still thou know'st not yet how to be prudent. Prometheus. For I should not converse with thee a servant. Hermes. Thou seemst to say naught which the Father wishes. Prometheus. And yet his debtor I'd require the favour. Hermes. Thou mock'st me verily, as if I were a child. Prometheus. And art thou not a child, and simpler still than this, if thou expectest to learn aught from me? There is not outrage nor expedient by which Zeus will induce me to declare these things. Before he loose these grievous bonds, let there be hurled then flaming fire, and the white-winged snows and thunders of the earth, let him confound and mingle all, for none of these will bend me till I tell by whom 'tis necessary he should fall from sovereignty. Hermes. Consider now if these things seem helpful. Prometheus. Long since these were considered and resolved. Hermes. Venture, O vain one, venture at length, in view of present sufferings to be wise. Prometheus. In vain you vex me, as a wave, exhorting. Ne'er let it come into thy mind that I, fearing Zeus' anger, shall become woman-minded, and beg him, greatly hated, with womanish upturnings of the hands, to loose me from these bonds. I am far from it. Hermes. Though saying much, I seem in vain to speak, for thou art nothing softened nor appeased by prayers, but champing at the bit like a new-yoked colt, thou strugglest and contend'st against the reins. But thou art violent with feeble wisdom. For stubbornness to him who is not wise, itself alone is less than nothing strong. But consider, if thou art not persuaded by my words, what storm and triple surge of ills will come upon thee, not to be avoided. For first this rugged cliff with thunder and lightning flame the father'll rend, and hide thy body, and a strong arm will bury thee. When thou hast spent a long length of time, thou wilt come back to light, and Zeus's winged dog, a bloodthirsty eagle, ravenously shall tear the great rag of thy body, creeping an uninvited guest all day, and banquet on thy liver black by eating. Of such suffering expect not any end, before some god appear, succeeding to thy labours, and wish to go to rayless Hades, and the dark depths of Tartarus. Therefore deliberate, since this is not made boasting, but in earnest spoken. For to speak falsely does not know the mouth of Zeus, but every word he does. So look about thee and consider, nor ever think obstinacy better than prudence. Chorus. To us indeed Hermes appears to say not unseasonable things. For he directs thee, leaving off self-will, to seek prudent counsel. Obey, for it is base to err for a wise man. Prometheus. To me, foreknowing these messages, he has uttered. But for a foe to suffer ill from foes is naught unseemly. Therefore 'gainst me let there be hurled fire's double-pointed curl, and air be provoked with thunder, and a tumult of wild winds, and earth from its foundations let a wind rock in its very roots, and with a rough surge mingle the sea waves with the passages of the heavenly stars, and to black Tartarus let him quite cast down my body by necessity's strong eddies. Yet after all he will not kill me. Hermes. Such words and counsels you may hear from the brain struck. For what lacks he of being mad? And if prosperous, what does he cease from madness? Do you, therefore, who sympathize with this one's suffering, from these places quick withdraw somewhere, lest the harsh billowing thunder stupefy your minds. Chorus. Say something else, and exhort me to some purpose, for surely thou hast intolerably abused this word. How direct me to perform a baseness? I wish to suffer with him whate'er is necessary. For I have learned to hate betrayers, nor is the pest which I abominate more than this. Hermes. Remember then what I foretell, nor by calamity pursued blame fortune, nor e'er say that Zeus into unforeseen ill has cast you. Surely not, but yourselves, you yourselves. For knowing, and not suddenly nor clandestinely, you'll be entangled through your folly in an impassable net of woe. Prometheus. Surely indeed, and no more in word earth is shaken, and a hoarse sound of thunder bellows near, and wreaths of lightning flash out fiercely blazing, and whirlwinds dust whirl up, and leap the blasts of all winds 'gainst one another, blowing in opposite array, and air with sea is mingled. Such impulse against me from Zeus, producing fear, doth plainly come. O revered mother, O ether, revolving common light to all, you see me, how unjust things I endure. End of Part 3, recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. End of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Henry David Thoreau, 1817 to 1862.